Yeah, and do you think that we've somehow missed it on the metric of creativity? One of the things that, so two thought processes. One of the things that I've seen with the creative space is we creatives have to play by different metrics. That's how I put it. And so uh, the metrics of followers and likes and popularity might not be the most useful metrics for creatives, from where I sit from. But at the same time, the creative's dilemma is, how do I commercialize creativity?
Yes.
And because commercializing creativity is very, very hard.
Yes.
Yet, without that creativity itself, then we live in a very bland world, and the world is not as colorful, and there is no flowers outside, because that's the price that the creatives have to pay. And so the question here is, how do we balance? How do we create a balance between? So the first question is, what would be the right metrics, for the creatives out there, the people who are really still focusing on, or want to focus on really doing the creative projects? What do we think should be the right metrics? And then, as a follow-up to that, is how do we create a balance between the energy, effort, and passion of creativity, balancing it out against commercializing creativity, which is now very important as well. How do we balance the two? But first, what are the metrics, and then how do we balance the two?
In terms of metrics, I think if we can have a system whereby the social media handles, or rather not handles per se, but the social media apps, if we can have a way of, I know it's hard, but if there's a way we can regulate such spaces, because you see, if right now I put something that is sensual, for example, this is just but one example. So if I compare someone who has put a sensual content and someone who has put maybe something that is creative, and you compare the results, the sensual thing will, have more engagement in comparison with this creative and something that is how do I put it, something that is decent. Yeah, that was the word that I was looking for. So you get that the sensual content or this explicit content will have more engagement, and the person who has created this content will now be celebrated. He or she will now become what we nowadays call a celebrity. And if you're a celebrity, let's say in a country like Kenya, of course, you have people coming to you for brand deals. Now, this person who is a creative and is creating decent content might not get these deals, or the deals might come in later. So you see, which is quite unfair in comparison. So if we can have ways to mitigate what we put out there, if we can have means, and I don't know if it's the Kenyan government that can do that or the apps themselves. Let's say, for example, TikTok. If TikTok can govern what content is being put out there, or even let's say an app like Telegram, because I just joined Telegram recently, and I explored it kidogo, and I saw so much filth on Telegram that I didn't know. I thought Telegram is like WhatsApp. whereby the same way I can WhatsApp you, I can Telegram you. But when I explore the app, it has filth. And now that filth is being celebrated. Unfortunately, the content that is filthy content, and it's being celebrated, and people are now earning from that. Now, you see, for people, someone who has not started creating such, or is not creating any content but wants to be a content creator, and he or she sees that this content, this filthy content or this mediocre content, someone is doing it and he or she is being celebrated for that. So it gives this person who wants to start that perception that, oh, I can also do this and rise faster. You get? So I think the first thing is for these apps themselves to regulate what is put out there. So that we can have, like, no, you don't have to create mediocre content or filthy content for you to be up there. You can also create something that is well thought and decent, and you can. Because, you see, it's the app that detects. See, with apps we have algorithms and all that. So if I've posted something that is filthy or mediocre and people are commenting on it, you see, the app won't register that, oh, these are negative comments. Let us limit how far this content goes. So instead the algorithm detects, oh, this content is being talked about, people are commenting, people are saying this. So instead the algorithm ups the engagement. Whereas it should now lower. If it's something that, if it's filthy content that has been put out there, the algorithm of these apps should actually lower the engagement. That way, this person will be discouraged to put out such mediocre content out there. And the person who's now doing creative stuff, if the algorithm can detect that and, you know, show this content to many people, that way we'll have back the 2016 to 2018 era. Yes.
Yeah. Don't you also think, because creatives are who they are and they take their time and they really go into details to develop their space, don't you also think it might be, since we might not be able to change the platforms themselves or the content themselves, don't you think it might also be a responsibility of the creatives themselves to somehow amplify the work that you're doing by either producing more content or sort of talking through, like what we're doing now, talking through other bits of the work that they're doing, so that even though the creative pieces themselves, the results are still in the works, we are still having conversations and we are still encouraging new creators, and we are sharing resources, and we are developing programs or courses or activities that other people who are aspiring to can join. Because sometimes the people who end up creating content that might not be up to par do not see the alternative. Yeah, so what might be the responsibility of the creatives themselves in terms of showing that there's a strong potential and strong alternative this other side, and which is where we should encourage more people to join, and what might be some of the ways to get people to this other side?
Putting in more resources, because if we can have platforms whereby creatives get support, let's say like right now I have an idea and maybe I don't have a studio, this is just but an example. Can there be a platform whereby I can access this studio, and if I'm being charged for the premises, I access the platform maybe at an accessible rate? Because if, let's say for example, like myself, if right now I want to do a high-end creative concept and I do not have a studio myself, and perhaps I do not have, let's say it's a personal project, and I don't have money to hire a studio, what will I do? That means that concept will just disappear. Then I will opt and see, okay, what is it that I can do easily that either will cost me a low budget or a zero budget. So get most of the things that maybe cost low budget or zero budget, you'll find now these mediocre things. You see, if I undress right now, I don't have to undress in a studio. I just undress in my space. So you see, that is now the thought process. Oh, okay, if I do this, this will cost me more. But if I do this, I can do it within the confinement of my home. So I'd rather do this, and it will give me high engagement. High engagement equals me being a celebrity. My following will go up and I'll become a celebrity. Me becoming a celebrity or an influencer, I get endorsements and all that. So if we can pump in more resources and create platforms or avenues whereby creatives can access things like, let's say, capital, or where they can shoot from. So if it's someone who wants to do podcasts, maybe the premises and all that, I think this will make our content better. But since now there are no resources being injected in this space, there are no platforms to help creatives, build more. The government isn't doing much. Actually, is the government doing anything with the creatives? I don't know. I don't think so. But if our Kenyan government can, invest in the creative space, na sile investment ya at all tumepea mtu fulani hii pesa, no, because once you do that, this money won't, flow. So we have a system whereby there's resources, there's capital, there are platforms that are being created to enable creatives create more and better, like create more but quality.
Yeah, I think there is also a role for just other industry players and philanthropists and organizations as well to create grants and platforms and resources to where photographers can apply and creatives in general could apply. And I also think that there already are some projects like this. There is grants, say, from the USA, from the EU, European Union might have grants for creatives, and I think it's also just an issue of also making those accessible and making them public, so that then more individuals see that there is options where they could get these resources. But coming back from that chain of thoughts into pivoting into a different conversation now. And so now we want to go back or go into the space of personal management as an entrepreneur in general, and what that entails, and what is the type of mindset that an entrepreneur should have. And maybe let's start from the mindset of insecurity. Insecurity in the sense that things are not always promised, they're not always available, and they're not always there. There's a lot of uncertainty navigating the journey as an entrepreneur. What would be some of the examples in your own personal experiences, and what might we learn in terms of how to manage uncertainties?
So, there, like I was saying in the previous session, in this industry or in this space, in the creative space, there's a lot of uncertainty. So there are times that you get, it's maybe a low season in terms of, influx of work, or there's actually nothing that is happening at the time. So you just have to, wait, or maybe do something that you've been wanting to do at the time. But you see, in that space, that is when so many things could happen that are negative. Because, and I think this is something that we are going to touch on later in this conversation, That is where now you get a creative now is depressed. You think of so many things. You start comparing yourself with other people. Maybe for them, at that particular time, it's their high season. For you, it's a low season. So your mind doesn't register that. Your mind registers, oh, the world is still revolving, and I'm the one who is just stuck. So there's that pressure. Why are things not happening for me at the moment? Why is so and so out there, and I'm just here? There's nothing much that is going on with me at the moment. So you get, if you're someone that doesn't understand that, you end up, you end up maybe feeling sorry for yourself, or you now get into depression, mental health issues, and all that. So that's what I was saying. It's very important for you to understand that there are times when it's high, there are times when there is low, and it's very equally important for you to know how to manage such times and also to manage yourself.
Alright, thanks for listening, and that's a wrap for this episode. For more exciting episodes like this, don't forget to follow our podcast, the AfroPreneur Podcast, on all streaming sites, and visit our website at www.ogwenostephen.com. See you on the next one.